What's going on, guys? Your boy Fluff here. You're not going to believe it. We're actually grouping this season. We're going to show you guys what we've been using to do speeds 75 through 90s. You guys might remember my last video, we talked about the BloodMancer. We said this would be an insane elite powerhouse, and guess what, guys? It is. We're going to show you how we set up the BloodMancer to run in groups really fast, really effectively, and it's actually a lot of fun, and you're just flying around the map. Let's get into it. So let me start out by saying this is almost identical to the BloodMancer build that we put out. We just changed a few things to optimize it for group play, make it a little bit tankier, and to make it do a little bit more damage. Now, just like the BloodMancer, this setup revolves around the skill Bloodlance, a lot like the push build as well. So this is a blood skill technically, and we're juicing it up with the trag'oul 6-piece, which says your life spending abilities deal 3,300% increased damage and cost twice as much life. We're also juicing it up with the endless walk set, which says while you're standing still, you get 100% increased damage, and while you're moving, damage taken is reduced. We're juicing it up with convention of elements. This thing, again, guys, is only on a 3-element rotation for the necromancer, which is OP. So when this thing rolls physical, it's amazing. And juicing it up also with the trag'oul's corroded fang, which basically says enemies that are cursed, you deal 200% increased damage to them. Again, guys, we don't need Grim Scythe on our bar for this skill. We're also using Corpse Twister pauldrons, which says corpse lance damage is increased by 30% for 3 seconds when you consume a corpse, max 20 stacks. When we have a full stack of 20, guys, you're going to get 600% increased damage to corpse lance with this item alone. And then, of course, guys, we're using the Crispin sentence, which says you deal 100% increased damage to enemies that are slowed, which will be 100% of the time, and triple this bonus against enemies afflicted by any other type of control impairing effect. Now, we are relying on the group outside of Land of the Dead to proc Crispin sentence for us. The support monk actually does a pretty good job of this, but obviously during Land of the Dead you're going to be proccing the Crispin for yourself, which is where you do the majority of your damage inside Land of the Dead, and we'll get into that, guys. And one of the big differences here between this and the Corpsemancer is we are running a double curse setup, which is actually quite nice. We're using Decrepify with borrowed time, and just like the push build, guys, you get 1% cooldown for every enemy curse up to a maximum of 20. This is basically always going to be up because the support monk, as you guys know, will just gather up a whole bunch of mobs for you. So it makes cursing really, really easy to do. But all enemies should be snared. All enemies should have their damage reduced, which is great for the group, and you're going to have that additional cooldown pretty much 100% of the time. You can also use Decrepify when you're traveling in between packs, which is really nice. For other curse, we're running Aura Frailty, which basically gives you an aura around you that curses enemies for you, and it makes them die instantly after they get below 15% health, which is actually pretty great, especially when you have, classes like a Virasha wizard in the group. This thing is insane. So usually what we'll do is we'll port through the elite pack on the way to the next, if that makes any sense. So just to make sure we get the Aura Frailty curse on them, or at sometimes, depending on how the mobs place, we'll just port in and port right back out real quick to make sure that they're applied with this curse. I have seen other people running early grave, so you can cast it at range. We just found that the majority of the time, for speed purposes, we just wanted to port through them and be ready for the next pack, and we didn't want to have to really stop casting anything to apply Frailty. But this is a really, really good option, guys, and it'll make them blow up earlier. Now again, guys, we are using Land of the Dead here. This skill is OP. We're using it with Frozen Lands to proc our Crispin and basically freeze everything on the screen, which is really great for the group. And also, of course, Land of the Dead says all corpse skills can be used at will for 10 seconds. This basically means we can spam Corpse Lance, we can spam Devour, we become a god for 10 seconds. It's insane. And of course, guys, instead of just talking about it, we're just going to show you real quick. You just pop Land of the Dead. You can sit here and you can spam Devour, you can spam Corpse Lance. You can see your Engorge going up like crazy. And again, guys, that's the trag'oul set. We're using Devour with Cannibalize here. A lot of people ask me why I don't use Devouring Aura. Guys, with the Numlock trick, you basically get Devouring Aura with another rune. So I definitely don't recommend ever running Devour Aura with the Numlock trick, guys. Definitely check it out. But in this build, we're actually manually casting Cannibalize. We'll get into that in a second. For Blood Rush, we don't have a rune selected here because, again, guys, because of trag'oul's 2-piece, Blood Rush gains the effect of every rune. Now, we do actually want to spend just a moment talking about how this skill works in this setup, because it is pretty vital to understand it. The two biggest things here is molting. So you drop a corpse when you port. So you drop a nice little juicy corpse. Now when you're traveling from pack to pack, this is pretty nice because you can port, devour, and it's got a really long range, guys. This will help you keep up engorged. It'll help heal you in between packs. Really nice to know. Potency is going to give us a lot more armor. So it gives us a lot of survivability traveling in between packs, even when we're in the middle of packs. And then finally, transfusion, guys. This might sound gimmicky, but it's really quite good because, again, the support monk kind of gathers everything into one concentrated area. When you're really low on health, when you're taking down a big group of mobs, you can literally just port through that whole pack and basically heal the full every time, which is really nice. So keep that in mind if you're like, Fluff, I'm dying all the time. You gotta use that blood rush properly, guys. Now, another thing you can do here is you can pick up standalone, which will give you way more tankiness outside the packs and even inside the packs. But we have found that we really like these particular passives, and we'll go into why, but that's completely up to you guys. Now, final service, no explanation needed here. If you die, this basically saves your life once every minute, and you are going to die in this build. You're not immune to death. I'm sorry, guys. We're using Blood as Power, also amazing because we are trying to get that cooldown down of Land of the Dead. So between Decrepify with Borrowed Time, Blood as Power, and we're running Ingyam in the cube, Land of the Dead is going to be up almost every other elite pack, but definitely every other elite pack. And our gear is pretty garbage. We've been pretty unlucky this season, unfortunately, so our CDR is still not optimal. The other passives here, we're running Spreading Malediction, which gives you 1% increased damage for each enemy afflicted by one of your curses. Again, guys, you're going to have these big, juicy packs kind of gathered together by your support monk. So this makes this skill quite good. Plus, you're going to be cursing stuff from pack to pack, so if that stuff stays cursed, then you'll get that juiced up damage as well. And finally, we're actually running Dark Reaping here. Now, you might be wondering why, because we can heal ourselves up with Blood Rush. This makes it so you can actually do decent damage outside of Land of the Dead. Because the other classes in your group, like, you know, a Beer Rasha, you know, whatever else you're running with you, they'll be killing trash like crazy inside of that big juiced up pack. Because you're getting so much healing from Dark Reaping and being able to rush through packs with Blood Rush. So you can basically spam Corpse Lance on those elites. Now again, guys, it's really important to snipe those elites. Try to focus on those elite packs. You're not trying to kill trash here. That's not where you're going to do your damage. Really focus down those elite packs. But this makes it so you're not just standing there waiting for Land of the Dead to pop up. You can actually help the group do damage in between those pops. It's also pretty important, guys, to have Land of the Dead up for the Rift Guardian. It definitely speeds up the kill a lot for your group, which is really nice. Now, I wouldn't suggest sitting on this cooldown for like the last 80% of the Rift or whatever, but if you can have this up for the Guardian, it's ideal because you'll basically kill him yourself. So keep that in mind as you're flying through the Rift, guys. And again, guys, how are we flying through the Rift? We are using Ingyam, which says your cooldowns are reduced by 10 seconds or 15 seconds after killing an elite pack. That's the purpose of some of these lower level speed runs in a group, as everyone's going to be proccing Ingyam. So this is pretty much a must, not only to keep up with your group, but to get that cooldown of Land of the Dead down much faster. Now, how are we juicing up our toughness? Again, guys, because of trag'oul's 4-piece, we do become engorged pretty much 100% of the time. And you'll see that buff down on your buff bar when you've consumed enough corpses or dashed through enough targets. We're also using Esoteric Alteration, really nice for toughness. And of course, we're using Dainty's Binding with Decrepify Borrowed Time. We're basically going to get that 50% damage reduction. And we're giving damage reduction for the group because Decrepify by itself reduces the damage that they do by 30%, which is really great for the group. We're also getting the Traveler's Pledge and Compass Rose combo, where if you're moving, you get damage reduction. And then finally, we're running Ancient Partisan Defenders. Each stunned enemy within 25 yards reduces your damage taken by 12%. This is really nice when there's a big juicy pack being pulled together by the support monk. This will proc pretty often and make you pretty tanky, guys. Which is why, again, we decided to drop standalone in favor of Spreading Malediction. Now, again, guys, you can pick that up if you find you're just way too squishy. Now, we did want to talk about our offhand real quick. A lot of you guys are going to ask, oh, you know, you're wearing the Bone Ringer. You're not even using Command Skeletons. Guys, this is just a stat stick. Just like the BloodMancer push build, you're going to see a lot of random offhands, people's offhands for the push spec. It's literally just to juice up your damage. The secondary effect on all of these are not going to help you for the Blood Lance. So something like damage roll, intelligence, crit chance, cooldown reduction, and corpse lance damage is really what you're looking for, not only for this build, but for the Blood Lance push build, guys. Now again, ideally on all of this stuff you want maximum CDR. You're going to want it on your gloves, you're going to want it on your shoulders, you're going to want a diamond in your helmet, you're going to want cooldown reduction on your weapon, you're going to want cooldown reduction on your offhand, you're going to want a dream rolled COE with cooldown reduction, crit damage. You're going to want cooldown reduction on a compass rose. We have not gotten one for ourselves yet, unfortunately. I've even seen a handful of people that run something very similar to this that run cooldown reduction on their necklace with crit damage. Really trying to juice up that cooldown reduction as high as possible, because again, guys, that means more Land of the Dead pops. Yeah, we're not going to talk about every piece here, but obviously you want crit damage and cooldown every possible place you can get it. On the gloves, it's really important to have a dream roll. On the shoulders, you want, cooldown reduction and corpse lance damage. Those are two big stats there. Helmet, imp bite, crit chance. Chest, we can actually roll imp bite, corpse lance damage, but we don't have a good one yet. Pants, imp bite, armor, physical resistance is the dream on any secondary of any item that you have, guys. Boots, imp bite, armor. You could go movement speed here for more intelligence from the Paragon. We just have regen boots. They're not very good. Again, guys, our gear isn't actually very good at all. We have not been lucky this season. Once this thing gets optimized, you're going to be doing crazy damage here. Even with non-optimized gear, guys, you're still flying to the rift, keeping up with the wizards, doing crazy damage. If this thing was totally optimized, obviously you'd be doing that much more damage. On the weapon, again, we want, damage roll, cooldown reduction, the highest possible curse roll that we can get. Again, this one's only 162%. It's pretty bad. Offhand, damage roll, crit chance, cooldown reduction, corpse lance damage, guys. The rings, dream roll, crit damage, crit chance, cooldown reduction, preferably on both if you can. That's going to be pretty hard to do on a compass rose, though, guys. And then again, a traveler's pledge, crit damage, crit chance, intelligence, and I've seen people do even cooldown reduction on this. And then finally, Parson Defender's physical int bite crit chance. For gems, running esoteric alteration again, guys, for the toughness. Bane of the Trap because it's the best in slot for pretty much any build that does damage. And we're running Zai's Stone of Vengeance, which basically says the damage you deal is increased the further you are away from a mob. And it has a chance to proc a stun on hit, which is really nice to proc that Crisbin. So it's really important to kind of stand away from the elite packs that you're trying to kill. You really almost want to have these elite packs that you're trying to kill almost off screen, because it's going to juice up your damage like crazy. And when you're in Land of the Dead, you don't really have to worry about wandering off by yourself and dying, because you're really tanky while you're able to spam Devour. Now again, guys, if your monk's proccing Oculus Ring, you want to try to stand in those little yellow circles. It's going to make you do a lot of damage. But yeah, that's basically what we've been running to do, speeds 75s through 90s, anywhere from 2.5 minutes to, sometimes 5 minutes if you just get unlucky. But really fast, really able to keep up with those Virasha wizards. Do an insane amount of damage. You are like the Rift Guardian killer, you're the Juggernaut killer, really able to help out those wizards when maybe they're not getting the best Virasha procs. You don't rely on anything when Land of the Dead is up, you just kill any elite that's on the screen. But that's pretty much what we've been running in a group this season. We haven't grouped too much, we are still mostly a solo player, but this has been a pretty nice setup. Let me know what you guys think in the comment sections below. And as always, guys, like, subscribe, come over to Twitch, ask your questions, support us on Patreon. We love you guys. Peace out.